You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZWLP Conroe and 106.1 KZCCLP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's edition of the Weekly Business Hour. I'm Rick Schissler. I'm your host. I'm a Silver Fox advisor, and I'm the founder of OneBestConsult.com. Glad you're able to join us today. We've got a lot of information here today. We've got great guests in the studio and a lot of other things going on in the business world out there. So I'm going to get right into it. First of all, I want to remind you we're broadcasting live from the studios of Lone Star Community Radio, which is located in downtown Conroe, Texas. It's the fastest growing city in America, and so it's a great place to be to do business. Montgomery County, Conroe, all the other towns in Montgomery County, it is a great place to do business. First question of the day. I always like to lead off with a question, get you thinking a little bit. What types of payment does your business accept today? What types of payment? In other words, cash, check, pretty common. Credit, debit card. Credit cards are almost universal, but not quite. What about online payments such as PayPal and all these other Venmo and all these other types of payment? Online payments are here, they're coming, and not necessarily for every business, but it is a way that business is being done, and they're growing by billions and billions of dollars in transactions every day throughout the world. So take a look at how you accept payment and see if you need to adjust a little bit. The Weekly Business Hour is where Montgomery County and businesses throughout the world come to talk about the latest in business news, ideas to improve your business, and be part of the conversations that can make a real difference to you and your business as well. I want to remind you, as I try to do every week, we have the show, is we're broadcast live. So if you want to watch as well as listen, simply go to YouTube, look for the Weekly Business Hour page, and click on the live button, and you can watch as well as listen to today's program. Also want to remind you before we get started, email. If you've got a comment about the show, an observation, a question, maybe even a question for our guest, or you have a business question, you just want to ask me something particular to your business, drop me an email. I love to get this. We talk about some of them on the air from time to time, so drop us an email. It's real easy. Send it to onebestconsult@gmail.com. That's onebestconsult@gmail.com. Now we get to where we really make the show move and shake, and that's when we bring on our special guest for the day. Today we're going to have an expert guest. We're going to have a good conversation, I feel it, with an expert guest. And our expert guest today is Phil Wilkerson. He is the founder of the Reveille Networking Group and an owner of Results Focus Group, which offers mastermind and accountability programs. Phil, thank you for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, we're excited to have you. You've got an expertise. You've built a business. And on top of that, you have a wonderful story about how you got where you are today. Let's kind of jump into that and give the folks a little bit of background. Perhaps they can learn a thing or two. You sort of fell into being in business for yourself. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. But I do want to start by saying thank you for what you're doing in the small business community. I think we have similar hearts from that perspective, and the work that you're doing out there needs to be recognized, and I greatly appreciate it. You're a role model for me as we've interacted over the last few years when I fell into this opportunity, right, to have that opportunity to interact with you. And then, your interviews with like Brian Bondi, with the Conroe Chamber, and you being active on the board, and then you participating down into even participating in our community service events, right? So you're the full spectrum from leading at the cutting edge to actually being involved in the community, which is a great role model, and I greatly appreciate that, what you do for me personally and what you're doing for the community as well. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And that's what this program's all about, right?
That's right.
We're here to help educate, provide information, particularly to small business managers and owners and their families. The owner's family is part of every business, like it or not.
That's right.
They are part of the business and a very important component. So let's back up. You
sure.
really never had an intention years ago to ever be in business for yourself, did you?
No, so I was the corporate guy, right? And on my path, 20 years in corporate America. Started as an industrial engineer on the shop floor and working my way through to executive vice president type roles for a big corporation held on the New York Stock Exchange. And that was my path, and that was the direction I was heading. I felt that the company that I'd been with for 18 years was the company I was going to retire with, and I really felt that that was my path and my destiny. Unfortunately, the hands of fate changed, and found myself out on the street. Reorganization took place, and it was a Shawshank Redemption moment for me. If you're familiar with the movie, when they get out of prison, they're lost, and that's exactly where I was, right? For 18 years, I had neglected my network. I went to Texas A&M, and I didn't go to any of the association type functions. My friends, my contacts, everything that my whole world centered around those relationships within that company. And so, when transition took place, I really didn't know how to use my network or where to go. And so it's a great story for me. At that, I was let go on a Monday, right? And then that Thursday, I went to the Reveille Club of Houston, which is an A&M-based networking group, on a Thursday. And Dick Lester was there from the A&M Business School, and he was introducing the Aggie 100. It's the top 100 Aggie-owned businesses, and I was blown away of the ingenuity, the innovation, the jobs being created, the revenue being created from those companies. I was just blown away, and I was infatuated. Like, how are all these small companies doing? I've been in that bubble for such a long period of time, and it's like, oh my gosh, I want to be part of. How can I be part of that, right? And so that started kind of the fire burning on the inside of wanting to help as many of those people as possible. I was in transition, so there is a group, Between Jobs Ministry. I don't know if that's come up before or not, but I had an opportunity to visit. Dr. Farmer and Nick Mulbauer at that organization have done a fantastic job. And, I participated in great learning opportunities, and Nick does a fantastic job with Networking 101. And again, I'm in the room with all these people that are ready, willing, and able to work. And again, how can I help them? And it was motivating, right? How can I align these small businesses with BJM to get all these people employed? It's just inspiring type moments. And one last inspiration in here was Terry Weaver, right? So I went to a networking event, and Terry was there, and he had started, at that time, it was called the Warriors Refuge. And he was telling me about it, and I was again blown away. He had taken the initiative. He's a military guy, gone and served, came back, saw the need to help people in the community, had no money, had no funding, just passion with his heart and his energy, and to make things happen. And I always thought, you get the big business mentality of you got to fund it and you got to, all these business plans, but he took action. And I think that was the big piece that motivated and inspired me, that it didn't take a lot in order, just start somewhere, just get started, right? And I think that was a life lesson early on.
Well, you mentioned the Shawshank Redemption. Folks that enjoy movies, when the character Brooks is turned loose, and that feeling when you watch that movie, at least the feeling I got, and like you say, you're just out there. Right. And that poor man couldn't deal with it in the movie, but they really portrayed it. And that happens, unfortunately, to thousands and thousands of people every year. They get laid off.
Right.
And a lot of folks have experienced that, obviously, in 2020 for a variety of reasons. Businesses have closed on a wholesale basis.
That's exactly right.
But what you did is you picked yourself up, right?
Yeah.
And that is so important. And you were inspired by other people and situations and whatnot. And what did you do with that inspiration? I mean, the Aggie 100, right? I mean, those kind of things, I get it.
Right.
But what did it inspire you to do? You had the heart to help, but what was the next step?
Right. Yeah, Rick, I think the thing there is it led me to, I'm a service-oriented person, right? And that's what started percolating to the top of how can I serve others in a role. And to build that business, I had to, I really struggled, right, to start. I started my own business, right? Consulting was where I felt, because of the size of the business that I came out of, that I felt like I could help a lot of different businesses, and consulting is where I ultimately landed, to serve as many as possible, to align the companies with the BJM and then the giving back, right, that you mentioned in your business tip a couple weeks ago, right? And I thought all that was really special. So I started a consulting business, and I really struggled. It ramped up really, really slow. And hopefully, this conversation that we're having today is helpful for your audience type members, for lessons learned, right? That I want to be able to share the experience that I had in order to help them not have those same type of struggles, right? And I know that's why you do what you do as well. The area that I struggled in, obviously, I didn't think I had a network, and I sure didn't know how to use the network that I had. The other thing that I struggled with, I didn't know who to trust. There's so many options out there, and everybody's got a referral, but who do you really trust? And then as a small business owner, and you guys mentioned this last week with Jason Forrest, or a couple weeks ago with Jason Forrest, is the inability to sell. Really good at people and leadership and development and things like that, but can you sell yourself? Can you sell your business? How do you market that? Those are the areas that I really, really struggled in when starting up a business.
Yeah, that generation of that revenue and developing it. But you did one thing that really stands out to me on a concrete basis, and I mean, you grabbed it more than most anyone I've ever met. You went to the Reveille group, the Houston group, I'll call it for lack of the proper term, and then you came out here to the north side of Harris County and into Montgomery County, and you personally, on your own, with not much of a network, as you admitted.
Correct.
A lot of folks would have a hard time admitting that, in my opinion, but you said, hey, I'm going to build a network. And so you started a Reveille group. Now, what does that group look like today?
Oh my gosh, right. So just a little background color with that is I was committed to the Reveille group in the downtown Galleria area, and I actually put my name in the hat to be part of the leadership team. And so at the beginning of each year, a few months after I'd been let go, they have the vote. And so I was there for the vote, and they had a couple of positions open, and they had 3 people that had put their name in the hat for those leadership roles, and everybody just votes that day, right? Name in the hat kind of thing, and then they count the votes. And I did not vote for myself, right? So I voted for one of the other guys, right? And I lost by 1 vote to not be on that leadership team. And that was a somewhat of a setback, because I really wanted to grow with that. But what it offered was the opportunity for me to start one on the north side of town, which is where I really needed to be. And so, it's kind of a lemon to lemonade type scenario. And then again, that's the Terry Weaver input of just put a stake in the ground and get started, right? You can plan to try to perfection, but just get started. And so that was inspiration to me, and it gave me the opportunity to start Reveille Networking Group up here. It's now a nonprofit. We formalized a 501c7, and that allows us to donate to multiple, charities, right? Not a single thing in a 501c3, as you know. But so now here we are 4.5 years later. We've had over 1,400 people attend. We started a membership type organization a few years ago, and all the money above the cost of running the meeting itself is donated to local charities. So in 2020, we were able to donate over $15,000 to local charities. The year before that, $10,000 in local charities. And as we're starting 2021, our membership now is approaching 90 people, and we're averaging somewhere in that 60 odd people a week attending. And, one of the things I'm really proud of with that group is during 2020, when everything turned to Zoom and online, we were averaging 65 people a week on Zoom calls. And that's the level of commitment to the small business owners that participate in the group. And are you okay with me telling a little bit about the purpose?
No, that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's awe-inspiring to me that you, who had no network, went out and started an organization which has benefited untold. And for sake of full disclosure, I have attended these meetings myself, off and on over the past 4 years, and they're great network meetings.
Right.
And anybody can attend the meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's open.
Yeah.
Open networking.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, so I think this feeds off of what you were saying is the reason I started it, right? The original purpose was obviously to help business owners come out and promote their business, small business owners. But the second piece was corporate employees to come out and continue to stay engaged in the community, because that's what I was not. And for those corporate employees that are not engaged in the community, in the event that transition happens, then they have a place to go. And that's what I wanted Reveille to be, as for those corporate employees, a place to go. And this comes back to the service side of it. We also open to transitioners, people that are looking for work are able to come. So if we do our job right in the Reveille group of business owners promoting their business, corporate employees being involved and stay engaged in the community, now transitioners have two sources to go to as they're building their networks and practicing, right? It's a great place to come and practice. It's a safe environment. It's where you grow as a networker at Reveille. Now we've got a group of retirees, we call them group number 4, right? That still want to stay engaged in the community, and they still have value, and their experience offers stories and resources for those in those first 3 groups. And a couple of years ago, our leadership team came up with giving back, right? Which aligns with, again, your business tip of the week was incorporating giving back into it. And then we started the membership programs. And so we're super happy with, where we're going with the Reveille and the direction that it's headed, and support from people like you and the people that attend.
Well, it's a wonderful story in and of itself to be able to do that and bring a networking group to the community. And there are a lot of groups.
That's right.
But this one I find is also, don't let this out, but it's fun. I mean, when you attend the meetings, they're enjoyable, they're fun, and you do walk away that you have something to take with you, whether it's a new relationship or two, or a connection, or you learn about a new opportunity to give back. It's a great group to join. Well, we're going to have to take a break. We're already at the first end of our first segment.
Wow, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Phillip a little bit about what he's doing now in consulting. He's on some unique ideas, and I want you all to be able to hear about them. So we'll be sharing them at our next segment. So please stay with us. We'll be right back.
For business ideas and news you can use, join us on the Weekly Business Hour every Monday at 11 a.m. on Lone Star Community Radio.
Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's radio station with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question, comment about one of our shows? Want to know how to reach a host? Just contact the station on irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with Lone Star Community Radio.
In a COVID world, businesses require a solid choice in insurance protection. Even after the pandemic passes, business owners will need expert advice and coverage in order to resume operations. Ellard Commercial Insurance is the local go-to source for insurance for small to medium-sized businesses and commercial property owners. Whether a business is a sole proprietorship to a fast-growing brick-and-mortar or online entity, Ellard can provide a comprehensive analysis and extend full protection to meet each specific need. Services include general liability, workers' compensation, business owner's policy, commercial automobiles and property, cyber liability, and more. Ellard Commercial Insurance is ready to answer questions and fill insurance needs at 281-827-0990 or at chris@ellardinsurance.com. That's ELLARD insurance.com.
Does your company have needs that can be met by an employee who is dependable, hardworking, enthusiastic, motivated, cooperative, respectful, and punctual? Conroe Independent School District Special Education Department can meet your needs by connecting you with potential employees that have been preparing for a lifetime of employment. We have numerous individuals seeking paid and unpaid work experiences. If your company is interested in seeing how we can meet your business needs, call Conroe ISD Special Education Department to find the best employees for you at 936-709-7671.
Not sure who to turn to when you have a problem in your business? Listen to the Weekly Business Hour on Lone Star Community Radio.
Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Weekly Business Hour. I'm Rick Schissler. I'm your host, and we've having a great conversation with an expert. Mr. Phillip Wilkerson's here today. He is the founder of the Reveille Networking Group and the owner of Result Focus Group. Phil, you know, when we went to break, we heard a lot about starting that network group and what motivated you to do it. I think, again, it's a fantastic story. Kind of like when I need something, instead of just go joining, I start it. I mean, I grab the bull by the horns, as we say in Texas.
That's right.
Right now in the consulting world, you're doing a couple of things that are unique in the way you approach your mission to help people. Let's touch on some of that, and if kind of lead us through what you're doing. I think it's very interesting and could be very helpful to our listeners.
Great, thank you. So, again, it comes back to the experience with starting up a business and really struggling, and what I see on a weekly basis with the small business owners that are within the Reveille Networking Group and the other places that I network as well, is what is it that they need in order to be successful, especially coming out of 2020. Where there was a higher level of challenges, but what do they need, and what did I need back in the time? And I told you that I didn't have a network, and I didn't know how to use the network, and I didn't know who to trust, and so what could I do to help people, right? And so it was ultimately to create a video series, right? We were just talking about that off the air about a video series, but that's what I did, and it's the 12businessrelationships.com. And it's exactly what the title says. It's the 12 business relationships that a small business owner, a startup, an entrepreneur needs in order for them to rapidly grow their business. If they humble themselves to be able to do that, because my mentality was I'm going to work longer and I'm going to work harder. And ultimately what happened by doing that, right, is the things that I didn't know how to do didn't get done. And therefore it made it even harder and longer, right, to kind of struggle through that. So the development of the series is these are the 12 business relationships that, in my opinion, it's a holistic view that a business owner needs in order to rapidly grow their business. And I often use, and you'll see this in social media posts, if you're sitting as a board of directors, right, if you're sitting at a table and you're surrounded by 12 people and they happen to be subject matter experts in the exact areas that you need in order to grow your business, then how much more confident would you be? How quickly could you make a decision, and how confident would it be in your plan to execute it? And that's what stimulated the concept of 12businessrelationships.com.
Well, and I think it's an interesting thing. Your list of what you cover is not necessarily totally conventional, or at least the way you title it.
Right.
Let's touch on a couple of those. I mean, leadership's in there, the business plans, those are pretty straightforward kind of things, lots and lots written and talked about in those areas. But
right.
Financial, okay, I own a business, I got my startup capital, I perhaps was able, which is somewhat unusual, to borrow money, but I at least outside the, call it family and friends, we can get money there. What is it that you're looking for from the financial piece, from that person, if you will, to help you grow your business better and faster?
Right, that's a common question about how did you come up with the 12, right, to start there. And I do believe it's more of a holistic view. And for me, my personal experience of starting the business and what I see with people attending Reveille and in the small business community themselves, you do have, when people are looking up or starting businesses, they definitely think about a business plan, and people talk about financials, and they talk about legal and marketing and sales, which are the core functions. But do they think about some of the soft skills that are needed as a business owner? Leadership, human resources, money management, networking, celebration of the little victories along the way, or giving back in commercial insurance. So you're asking about financials. Barry Blanton does a fantastic job in the video series of outlining the basics. And part of that is the discipline of being able to review your financials on a monthly basis, even as you're starting up, as part of your business plan, having that discipline, that's an important piece that you have to learn. You may be really good at your craft, your trade, your profession. You're not really good at financials. You're not really good at marketing. Those are the things that get pushed aside. This creates discipline use those resources that are available to you to create the discipline in your business so that you can move forward quickly.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned financial. I chose it for a reason because in my experience over the last almost 20 years now of doing this on a full-time basis, very, very few small businesses pay much attention at all to their financials.
Right.
And I tell that to people, and they, what do you mean? I've got some direct experiences on a wide scale basis that proves that out. And I was taught you want your financials on a timely basis because the longer you stretch it out, the less valuable the information is.
Right.
Because it's a look back.
Right.
I mean, it's not a look forward unless you're doing a projection or a budget. So you've got to get that information if you plan to use it.
Right.
To correct, to adjust, to stay on course. What have you experienced with financials? Have you generally found small business people really, really need some direction on that issue?
Oh, absolutely. And you think about board of directors or people that you bring on first as a small business, finance is number one. That's the number one that you bring on. The next is some level of sales and marketing. But financials are important. You got to know where you are, with your numbers on a monthly basis. Tax implications ultimately can jump up and bite people in the within a year of their business. So I think understanding your financials is important from that perspective, and having that discipline, and getting into a routine of forecasting that you talked about. So when you are forecasting and you are seeing where it's going, it creates positive action and momentum in your business. It is a tool to motivate and inspire you to move forward. And I think people look at it as, I don't understand it, and they set it aside because it's uncomfortable for them. And as a business owner, you live in the stretch zone. You live in the stretch zone. And that's some of the things that we're talking about today is these are the 12 business relationships you need to make you feel comfortable. They are your board of directors. They're sitting at your table. You have the freedom to ask the question, engage them, reach out to them. They are the resources that you need. You don't have to go out and find them. You don't have to struggle like I struggled, for 6 years or more, putting these people together. Here they are. They're on a silver platter. Take advantage of them. Reach out to them. Use them. And gain confidence, and you don't have to go to YouTube and all these other places to search and find stuff. Use these resources right here. They're professionals.
Yeah, and they're all in one place.
That's right.
The other area, which I happen to be an advocate of, is celebration and rejuvenation. What a simple idea, really, in my opinion.
That's right.
But very few people, but the ones who do utilize it, it's amazing.
Right.
I've seen some amazing programs. I've interviewed and talked with employees, clients, customers, business owners, all the people involved in this, and it's a win-win-win-win. I mean, everybody involved. Talk about that and why that's important to be one of the 12 major issues that a small business owner needs to look at.
Well, it's so easy to get focused on growing the business or growing revenue and not taking the time to recognize the things that have been accomplished along the way. Jen Godet does a great job. She's inspirational. She's a firecracker, within the video series. Great listen, passionate and inspiring. And that in itself, little victories, even if it's launching the website or, your first customer or, you gained a new customer along the way. Those are celebrations that need to be recognized. We get caught up in what I don't have yet, that hold us back. And I like, what Jason Forrest was talking about with leashes, right? I think that can be a leash, right? Where what I don't have yet, as opposed to, reaching out and celebrating. Not only does it help the business owner, but it engages his team members as well. And they feel rewarded and recognized for the accomplishments along the way, which then in turn motivates and inspires, them to do more, right? And to help others.
Yeah, I think any culture that someone seeks to establish, and culture is another thing that a lot of small business people don't think about, but it's happening every day in your business. And bringing this ingredient of celebration and rejuvenation to the table on a regular basis. And again, very little out-of-pocket cost. Does take some effort, does take some thinking, but there's so many creative ideas out there. I encourage people to listen to this program, as I've done before on this program, and used it in my One Best Consult tip of the week. So it's wonderful. Well, we've come to the bottom of the hour.
Wow.
It's time to take our bottom of the hour break.
Yeah.
Do you have a few minutes? Because I'd like to come back and talk about your RFG group.
Oh, I'd love
and
to.
what you're doing, because I think it's, again, another unique piece of a puzzle that could be utilized by many, many small business owners and managers.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Before we leave, though, for the break, if I want to look at the videos, what's the address that I can go look? You mentioned they're posted.
Yeah, 12, and it's the number 12, businessrelationships.com.
Okay, 12, businessrelationships.com.
Yes.
Well, I encourage everybody, make a note, take a look at one or two of them even. I mean, and I think you'll be captured, and you'll want to look at the rest of them. It is definitely worth your time and the investment of that time in it. So we're going to take this break, and we come back. Phil's agreed to stick around a little bit because he's got this RFG, Results Focus Group, that I think is an interesting tool. I mentioned that earlier, so I think it's worth listening. So please stay with us. We'll be right back with you.
Business Talk on the Weekly Business Hour every Monday at 11 a.m. right here on Lone Star Community Radio.
Award-winning international author Catherine Lane presents the latest book in the Nikki Garcia thriller series. Revenge in Barcelona continues the adventures of a world traveler who finds herself a target in a global scheme of terror. Purchase this volume and the other 2 books in the Nikki Garcia series, Waking Up in Medellin and Danger in the Coyote Zone, individually or in a special box set on Amazon, or at catherine-lane.com. That's KATHRYN-LANE.com.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That's Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on the computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. A Lone Star Community Radio, broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
Hey guys, this is Connor.
This is Dick.
This is Chris.
And we're with the Ticket Stub Podcast every Thursday live at noon on 104.5 and 106.1 FM in the Conroe area. Also, anytime at irlonestar.com. You go to irlonestar.com/TTS. You can find all of our social media.
And don't forget, we give away 2 tickets to the Grand Theater on every show.
If you like movies and you like complaining or celebrating anything that has to do with the silver screen, check out the Ticket Stub Podcast and join us every Thursday at noon o'clock on Lone Star Community Radio.
Want to check out the fastest growing sport in the world? It's right here in Conroe, Texas, and it's roller derby. Conroe Roller Derby is a non-profit recreational league of women and men who want you to come and check out the fast-paced, hard-hitting game of roller derby. The Conroe Cutthroats practice at Rainbow Roller Rink on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. You can find our game schedule and more information on our website, www.conroerollerderby.com.
Not sure who to turn to when you have a problem in your business? Listen to the Weekly Business Hour on Lone Star Community Radio.
You are listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and this is Rick Schissler. I'm your host, and I think we've been having a wonderful conversation today with Phil Wilkerson regarding accountability. We were talking about that off air. And it's amazing because the 12 steps that he has put together the videos for, which I think is a wonderful tool to help somebody get an idea of what leadership looks like, or networking, or any of the other topics. But it's accountability. And Phil and I were talking about that. But Phil, you've started a very special group called Results Focus Group.
Yes.
Let's talk about that and why that would appeal to a lot of business owners.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the extended conversation. I'm enjoying it a lot, so thank you for that. So when I was doing the video series, super stretch project for me, way outside my comfort zone. And the only way, so part of an owner is understanding your strengths and your weaknesses. And the only way I got through that is a small accountability group. So I had to put resources around me that we met on a weekly basis to hold me accountable. And we held each other accountable for goals and initiatives and things like that. But that's what kept me going. When it got tough, when it got hard, when it was taking too long, when I was super stretched outside of my comfort zone, the accountability group was there to help encourage me, support me, challenge me to keep going. And it's guaranteed. It's the only way the video project was completed is because of the accountability group, and I recognize that, and those people that were in it. If they weren't there, I would have bailed. And I would have felt bad about myself. I would have considered myself unsuccessful. And that dream and that idea would have died. And so I wanted to create something similar, right? To be able to help other people, because we see it within the networking groups and we see it out in the small business community and with clients, that there's just a little lack of accountability. They're surrounded by family members that are very supportive. They're supported by friends that are supportive. Oh, whatever you want to do. Oh, that sounds good. But how do you execute it? That's part of the challenge that they face.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And it's funny. I call it I guess it's almost like a syndrome as far as I'm concerned. It's called go cheap. Now, that could mean out of pocket, spending money. That's the expression. But it also means go cheap on my time. In other words, I'm too busy running my business every day. There's just too many things I have to deal with. And you begin to listen to somebody going down that path, and you say, wait a minute, what if we could reduce that? Okay, but we got to invest something, your time, and maybe a little bit of your money to put something in place. And your program that you're offering people is only 8 weeks to get started.
That's right.
But the idea is, folks, you got to make that investment of yourself into something. You don't have to stop running your business, but you're going to learn things, my opinion, that will help you run your business better, more efficiently, more effectively, and if you so choose, to allow you to spend less time, at least on certain tasks. Okay, so let's talk about that 8-week program.
Sure. Thank you. So it's modeled, it's concentrated effort. Napoleon Hill, in his books, Think and Grow Rich, Laws of Success, he talks about the power of the mastermind, and guys like Henry Ford and Charles Schwab, how they used it, Thomas Edison, to perfect their craft and trades and profession. And so it's concentrated effort that makes a difference. And it's concentrated effort on the most important thing now. As a business owner, you got tons of things happening. But what is the most important thing that you need to concentrate on right now in order to make the difference in your business? The people that are going through it and went through it in the fall could be social media, could be sales, hitting sales targets. One person wanted to write a book, start a podcast, right? So the beauty of it is the diversity in the small group. It's max 4 or 5 people, hour and a half each week for an 8-week program. And it's concentrated effort. And just like putting a stake in the ground, when you know there's a deadline that stuff has to be done by, your actions and behaviors are more concise and more intentional as you're moving towards that. And that's the idea behind the 8-week program. A lot of things out there are endless programs that you sign up for and cost a lot of money. This is concentrated effort for 8 weeks, an hour and a half, small business accountability mastermind, great resources to help motivate, inspire, encourage you to keep going.
Well, and I'm a big believer in education. And again, another weakness that I generally find with small business is they've been in business and they know where everything is inside, say, their store or a truck, if there's service, or whatever it might be, or how to build their product with a blindfold on. But they lose track of what's going on in business. They don't pull up and get education to stay not only current, but just to begin to be able to think about things a little bit differently and improve their lot, so to speak, as it used to be said. And to take only 8 weeks and an hour and a half, and I'm sure there's some homework, the idea that I'm focusing for that period of time, what would be my expectations when I walk out the other end, so to speak? I finished the 8 weeks. You've empowered me to do what?
Well, so there's several benefits to the people that participate. One of them is you are generating results on the project or initiative that you want to move forward on. The second benefit is you are actually helping other people. The other people in the group, they value your input, they value your experiences that you're able to share. And now you've also learned a tool, a technique that can help with your business, your team, in order to continue to grow. Are 3 really strong benefits that come out of it. And it's the momentum, and that's my word of the year for 2021 is momentum. It helps business owners, individuals, employees, or dreamers get started. Momentum, a new tactic. I call it what's new and what's trending, what's super effective and makes you feel good. RFG, Results Focus Group. It's not CBD, it's RFG, right? And that's part of my commercial, right? What makes you feel good and it's really effective. And it's being part of these groups, and you can see that there's a bond that forms, trusted resources amongst those that are attending the group, and they lean on each other for support in order to move forward.
Well, it makes a lot of sense to me. As you might know, I mentor several roundtable groups, nonprofit and for-profit, and I grew up in that environment in business. So I had the experience of being a member, and that does it in a much more subtle way, and it is much more driven by the individual having to bring to the table their issues.
Right.
Some people just sit there and they don't have, but they'll help others, you know, and so these tables kind of build a life, and you meet, you know, once a month, hour and a half, and it might be a good graduate course for when they go through your program onto a round table to keep it going and building a whole new group of people that really care about them and help them in a confidential way. So the idea is I'm continuing my education, right?
Yeah.
And continue to be motivated.
I think during that hour and a half, it's shared time. So it's facilitated. And so each person gets equal time. If there's 4 people in the group, you may get 20 minutes each, a little bit of time to talk about, 15 minutes to talk about your specific actions that you completed over the previous week, what your intentions are for the coming week. And then there's about a 5-minute session for the group to weigh in on things that you said that they may have heard to encourage you, pat you on the back, encourage you to do more. Maybe you're overlooking some things, but then it goes around the table. So it's shared time. It's not dominated by one person within the group, and I think that's a benefit as well.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Sounds like a great place to get started if I'm kind of falling out. And so many people with the pandemic, I mean, the timing is perfect right now.
That's right.
Because all of us are beaten up, at least emotionally. And a lot of businesses have been challenged by the pandemic.
I do want to share part of the motivation, again, of starting the RFG Results Focus Group is, again, Terry Weaver. He's an author now and writing some books, and his latest book is All My Best. And he had a book reading, and he invited me to attend a small group, about 10 people. And at the book reading, he opened up, he talked about the book and the table of contents, and he just asked, is there a chapter in here that resonates that somebody wants me to read? And somebody selected Dreams. And so he went through and read and different quotes in there that were inspirational, but then he asked the table to share their dreams. And I shared mine first, which is to find a cure for type 1 diabetes by 2030. And then around the table, the rest of the people went, and they shared, their voices cracked, there was passion in what they were sharing, and many of them, it was the first time they had ever articulated or said those type of things that were deep inside of them. And at that moment, I realized, and you know what happened at the end, right? That everybody felt good, and it was a moment, but then everybody gets in their cars, and they go back to their busy lives, and those dreams get suppressed. And so I was experiencing the 12 business relationships, things that I was going through at that time. How can I help all these people around the table with Terry Weaver with these dreams? And so Results Focus Group was an inspiration from that moment there of its concentrated effort to help them gain momentum and get started to fulfill their dreams and get those started. And if we can get those started, because they're impacting youth programs, faith-based, opening restaurants, right? There was all kinds of just massive potential. Too big of a project to take on your own, but you just need momentum to get started. And that's what RFG is going to offer.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming in and sharing some of what you're doing, sharing the fact that you one day found yourself without a job, and look where it's led you over the past 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
Great work, Reveille Networking Group. If folks want to reach out and talk to you about the 12 relationships or talk about your RFG group, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can utilize Phillip, Phillip, at resultsfocusgroup.com.
Okay. And say that one more time. I always like to double up.
Great. Phillip, it's Phillip, at resultsfocusgroup.com. Singular.
Well, thank you again, sir, for coming in and sharing. I hope you'll come back in the near future because you've got some other things I'd like to share with our audience, and we'll book you in here and have another expert conversation.
Thank you for all you're doing, Rick. I really appreciate it.
And ladies and gentlemen, before we go to our final break of the day, I'll just let you know we're going to come back. I'm going to talk about my one best consult tip of the week, and it's entitled, What is your best idea on how to improve your business in 2021? So please stay with us. We'll be right back with you.
For business ideas and news you can use, join us on the Weekly Business Hour every Monday at 11 a.m. on Lone Star Community Radio.
Health Center Southeast Texas is a federally qualified health center. We accept Medicare, Medicaid, and most major private insurances. For our self-pay patients, we have a sliding scale discount program available. Our health centers have qualified providers and staff striving every day to provide the best quality of care to our patients. Services offered are family medicine, behavioral health services, telepsychiatry, and pediatrics. We have 4 area locations. Look at the Health Center Southeast Texas online at hcset.com.
A Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's radio station with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question or comment about one of our shows? Want to know how to reach a host? Just contact the station at irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with Lone Star Community Radio.
Hey y'all, it's DJ Mike from Dance Time in Texas. Join me Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. as I count down the top 10 Texas Red Dirt songs that are packing the dance floor. I'll be featuring local artists and the story behind the hits, shows in the area, as well as new songs that make you want to dance. It's Dance Time in Texas with DJ Mike on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5 KCZW and 106.1 KZCC, Conroe, Texas, or online, irlonestar.com.
It's all about business on the Weekly Business Hour every Monday at 11 a.m. on Lone Star Community Radio.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rick Schissler. I'm your host, and thank you. Thank you for listening to today's program. This is our final segment. I'm going to give you my one best consult tip of the week. But before I do that, I want to mention to you that if you're listening to this program, you're a small business, and you're located in the Montgomery County area, or anywhere adjacent to that area, I'd like to invite you to become a sponsor of our program. As you may or may not know, Lone Star Community Radio is a nonprofit 501c3, and you can donate to the charity, to Lone Star Community Radio. And if you designate it's for the Weekly Business Hour, then we'll work with you and get you a mention on the air, talk about your business a little bit. So we appreciate it. So if you'd like to be a sponsor, just reach out to me here at the station. It's simple. It's Rick, R-I-C-K, at irlonestar.com. Consider it. It's a great way to get your name and a great way to support communications within the community here in Montgomery County. Well, what is your best idea on how to improve your business in 2021? Obviously, we have started the year. We've got 1 month behind us. And a lot of folks, quite frankly, that I bump into that own businesses, they're just trying to survive. They want to survive, put 2020 behind them. Some businesses, on the other hand, did extremely well. What products and services they offered were needed. In fact, many were just so successful they couldn't keep up. So there's kind of a mixture, but for the most part, a majority of businesses suffered in one way or another. So it's important to put your best ideas out in front. And if you haven't created those ideas yet, I want to give you 3 things to think about. And a couple of these may throw you for a loop because you're saying, well, I'm a small business. I've got a small manufacturing facility. I've got 5-10 employees, or I'm a retail store on Main Street, but let me tell you, if I learned one thing in 2020 is the world is turning, and it's turning faster and faster. And if you are committed to being in business, at least for the next few years and beyond perhaps, you need to pay attention to what's going on around you that may be a secret to success in your business. Now, I'm not talking about earth-shattering things here. I'm talking about products and services that may really help you do a better job, cut cost, increase revenue, whatever it might be. And the first one is what they call AI, artificial intelligence. Now, if you're like me, there's lots of articles, lots of information out there on the internet about AI, but you say, well, I'm just a small business person. That doesn't impact me. I can't buy something called AI. I can't, pick it up on a monthly subscription. I mean, what impact would it have in my business? Well, let me tell you, AI is around you every day, and there's a very, very good chance that you're actually working with it today, and you don't even know it. But things like smart assistants, where you have an assistant on the internet, chatbots, self-driving cars, there's so much about that. And again, I know that's a year or two probably or longer, but the idea is the concept of AI. You should be thinking about ways that AI may impact your business, and make sure the impacts are positive, that they work for you and your business, because there will be products and services that can be impactful, and if properly utilized and implemented, they can impact you in a very positive way. Another technology that's upon us, and again, it's all over the news, it's everywhere, and that's 5G. And you say, well, that's just a cell phone, 5G. It's a faster cell phone. They tell me I can walk around and watch movies on my cell phone. I'm not sure that really helps me in my business. And they say, wait a minute. But what it is the speeds on the cell phone now are going to be as fast, perhaps faster in many cases, than our wireless or Wi-Fi can be. And if you're utilizing Wi-Fi in your business to communicate within the store or in any way, if you have any kind of advertising or marketing geared, all of a sudden now there's another way, another communication network, if you will, that can be utilized, and it's 5G. If you have drivers that are out, 5G may be a better way to communicate with them. There'll be programs focusing on the use of the 5G network. So it's going to be interesting how this all pans out. But don't lose sight. Don't say, well, it's just a bunch of advertising to buy a new cell phone and get on a faster network that I really don't use. Yeah, I text a little bit, but this, that. But I'm not going to walk around watching a movie. Don't get hung up on all that personal stuff. Think about it. It's the consumer marketing people that always got all this stuff out there anyway. What you got to do is dig a little deeper. And that's one of the reasons I've always advocated being connected to your industry. Be connected on a local basis, a state basis, a national basis. Join some of those organizations. Read the magazines and the information, the online content for those organizations. There's a lot of simple, easy, and very effective ways to stay in touch. But 5G network is going to change the way small business is conducted in a lot of ways, and it's coming sooner than later. And last but not least, one that kind of ties it all together, that's retail technology. And I have one word for you if you want to learn what it might do to impact your retail business: Amazon. Amazon has opened stores that utilize the latest, greatest in retail technology, where someone can actually walk in the store, select the items that they want, and then walk out. And it's automatically charged to them. Right now, I was behind someone the other day picking up a beverage at a fast food restaurant, and the guy in front of me, he poked his phone out the window. And they obviously communicated payment is what it was off his phone. That's becoming more and more regular. The thing I let off today's show, that first question, how are you accepting payment? Now, here is a retail drive-through restaurant, the biggest chain in the world, so we're told. And here are people in line with their kids in the car, buying a simple lunch, spending $10, $20 using the cell phone. And that's the way they choose to do business. That has got to say something to everyone in the retail trade. There are going to be bigger and better ways to do business. Again, I'm not an advocate of buying all the latest, greatest or the best equipment or this, but there are little things that will happen that can really make a difference in how your business is run. Well, please put a note on your calendar to join us next Monday right here on irlonestar.com, Facebook Live, wherever you listen to today's program. And look for the video and podcast of today's show on the Weekly Business Hour page and all the social media that's related to business out there. You can find the Weekly Business Hour. And again, thank you for joining us. Remember to stay in touch with what's happening in Montgomery County right here on Lone Star Community Radio. And until next week, I encourage you, stay engaged and keep your focus on what counts in your business.